Mixing with my career building tip, shut up and do something. The whole idea of putting this together was as a way, and maybe some kind of a wake-up call, in that sometimes as we're going through our career and developing it, and we're struggling, we're having a hard time, sometimes the tendency is to sort of complain. Plugin prices are too high, software prices are too high, there's too many things coming out too fast, there's too much competition, there's all kinds of, sort of built-in excuses or complaints or reasons for not moving forward and doing things. And, occasionally you just kind of need to take a break from stuff. But when you kind of stay on that side, you sort of become self-defeating and you don't really accomplish things. So sometimes when you end up in that situation, you have to kind of start to just do something. Even if you're not exactly sure what it is, you have to do something that kind of moves you forward and changes the momentum of the way that you're doing things. Now, there are two ways to look at this, and I kind of want to point this out because I think it's really important, and then I'll kind of try to see if I can curve my way back into that specific thing. When you approach any kind of situation, there are times where if you're really negative, you can kind of call it like, oh, I'm being realistic. This is what the reality is of the situation. And the problem with that is that while there may be some quote unquote truth in it, you're basically not ever going to be the exception to that rule and what that situation is. So you sort of negate and make it impossible for you to continue on that path. If you're on the too positive, nothing is wrong and everything is just perfect and everything is going to land on my head and drop $1 million in my pocket, then nothing's going to happen either, because you still have to do something in order to make that happen. So you're just not, yes, it may very well be that you happen to, be walking down the road and a Brinks truck hits a rock and the door opens back and a big bag of money flows out the back, into your, right in front of you. You grab it, nobody's looking, and then you just, scoot into your house or into your car and you're a millionaire or whatever. But that's most likely not going to happen. I guess you could win a lottery ticket. Probably as much chance of that happening as well. But there's no guarantee on any of those things either. Somewhere in between, in the middle, is the ability to sort of look realistically at a situation, but take a positive vantage point on it. In other words, instead of saying, hey, like plugin prices are too expensive, or I really want this plugin, but it's too expensive. The other side of it may be looking at it and saying, okay, well, this plugin maybe is $300 and I really like that plugin. What can I do to create the $300 I need to get that plugin that I need? What can I do to create that situation where buying that plugin is not a problem, or buying any of the software or any of the gear is a problem? And that is more of a positive avenue, because what you're doing is you're now, if you sit down with a piece of paper at that point and you have a problem, write down 10 things you could do to change that situation that are potential options for something you could do to generate income. And if you look at that list, one of them will kind of pop out, or a couple of them will pop out. And if you kind of put some time and energy into that, what you'll find is that it will yield some results. Whereas if you just kind of become a sad sack and just like, oh, plugin prices are too expensive, maybe I can crack it or something like that, then it's like you end up going down an avenue where you're not putting your time and energy into creating your wealth that allows you to have that situation and have all those things, and do it in a way that actually brings money into the industry. It cycles back into you, and then you feel more empowered, because when you actually pay for something and you've put your time and energy into doing that, you really appreciate it and you use it to its greatest potential. So these are things that, in just a subtle way of looking at it and a subtle way of changing your perspective on things, where you can radically and very dramatically change your career path. So if you ever end up in a situation where you find that you're just complaining, bitching and moaning, feeling like, sorry and sad for yourself, shut up and do something about it. Sit down, get a piece of paper, write down 10 things you can do to change your situation, and pick one of them and start doing something about it, because that'll make the biggest difference. Better than any amount of complaining or drinking beers or shots ever will. There you have it. This is Mixing with my career building tips. Shut up and do something already.